to take this opportunity to extend a very warm welcome to all of you present here. Greetings. I am Vanshika Mithani, the co-president of the Public Speaking and Debating Society of HR College of Commerce and Economics. I would like to take the opportunity to extend a very warm welcome to everyone present here on behalf of the entire committee of PSDS HR College. Welcome to the webinar on the art of formal communication, your lifetime membership to the Success Club by none other than the highly revered Mr. Himanshu Dev as our esteemed speaker. So thank you all for joining us on board. And we have a very enriching session in store for you. And we're looking forward to hosting you for the same. I would now like to take this opportunity to welcome our backbone, the support system, and our constant source of inspiration, our teacher in charge, Ms. Geeta Sahu ma'am, to, I'd like to call her upon to take it forward. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Vanshika. And it is indeed my pleasure to formally introduce Mr. Himanshu Dev. Mr. Himanshu Dev holds a master's degree in international studies with national honor from NCSU on a full scholarship after scoring a whooping 800 on 800 GRE Quant score. He serves as a director, mentor, and consultant at various organizations across the world. He holds credit for expanding and enhancing the Princeton Review services and having given hundreds of presentations to thousands of students across the world who have now secured admissions to prestigious institutes like Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, Warwick, Columbia, and also to IITs and IIMs. His unique and holistic approach to counseling culminated in him to become the keynote speaker and a higher education and career expert with an experience in the USA, Middle East, and India. His distinctions were recognized by the government of UAE, who invited Mr. Dev for the assessment of Ministry of Higher Education. With best life for most as his motto, he writes and speaks on a variety of educational, social, and international topics. Mr. Himanshu Dev, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on board. And now, without much ado, the platform is all yours and the students are waiting to listen to you. Welcome, sir.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Vanshika and the team of the society to organize this. Thank you, Geeta ma'am, for representing the faculty support and the leadership here. As we can't interact much like this, so my first call to you all as we begin the interaction and presentation would be that feel free to chit chat, feel free to interact all through the presentation, because I don't want it to be a presentation just, because ultimately the first key to failure of communication is one-way communication. So when I'm doing a talk on communication and trying to give you keys for success, I wouldn't want communication to be one way. So feel free to use the chat button, and wherever the support team can help us, we would be happy to make our interaction better. So I would like to share the screen and begin the discussion, and maybe to keep the communication proper or smooth, I would request that as I try to finish the slide, you feel free to interact, and let's take it forward that way. The art of formal communication, and each and every word here has a deep meaning to it and a changing meaning to it. The art of formal communication, even if we talk about just this title, it will take me 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to discuss, because what is art? What is formal? What is communication? So without going much into the philosophy of it, we switch to the practical side of it, which we call success. So the art of formal communication, your lifetime membership to the Success Club. And of course, we'll touch on it as we go through. Whenever somebody is giving you an advice, or whenever somebody is trying to tell you something, or on your side, you are trying to get some information from someone, whether it is your parents, your teachers, Google, or any book, or any other resource, you should always try to find the credibility of it. You can go online and write anything about me or success or communication or anything. If you go and write your name against this title, that the lifetime membership to the Success Club, this club is owned by so and so person, somebody else accesses it and they would feel like, okay, maybe this guy or this girl owns this Success Club, right? So what I mean to say here is, before going into any talk, I would like to introduce myself again. And of course, some of you or all of you may have heard about it. I would want to tell you, how all I have learned the art of communication, and I have been maybe to an extent successful in communicating my ideas or communicating other ideas to others. So my key positions, of course, you heard my introduction and how it was presented. So I went to North Carolina State University to do my master's. And of course, I was fortunate to get 100% scholarship. And that has to do a lot, not just to my marks, but my communication as well. I really see that, of course, I could say that I got 800 on 800 in math. And these days, math is out of 170. So 170 on 170 in the current system. But I cannot say that I got 100% scholarship because my essay was perfect, or my SOP was perfect, or my letter of recommendation was perfect, or my CV or resume was perfect. We don't know. We can't really say that. Those are qualitative things which we can't really put on our CV. So communication is also about a lot of things which we can't even say, because even when we do not say, we are still communicating, right? So it is a voice, it is a choice, how you make, when do you make, and what do you make. So then I went on to become a lecturer at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Then I joined the US Consulate Education USA office, US IEF, which is very close by to your college. And that's how I got in touch with HR College a lot. I used to visit there, and HR College students used to visit me. So I have the nostalgia from the year 2015. So from 2010 to 15, I was so much in touch with the HR College and other colleges around, the engineering colleges and the commerce colleges, the art institutions from north to south, in Mumbai, in outside. So those were my years, 2010 to 15. And after that, I moved to Dubai. So I was invited by the UAE government to assess the Ministry of Higher Education. And I led the Middle East and Western India regions for Princeton Review in admissions. So at that time, I learned the corporate communication a lot. So one side, I was a student, so I understood the academic communication. Then I went on to work for the government offices. So I was fortunate to communicate with some of my communication, I would put it that way, some of my communication even reached, Ms. Hillary Clinton, who was the Secretary of State at that time. And of course, we communicated with other governments and Indian offices. Later on, I got into training, and because I wanted the counselors to communicate well with the students, because I thought I can do only a little bit. I can't advise each and every student. So I wanted to train a lot of counselors. So I joined IC3 and was the founding in charge of IC3 Institute, where we were training the counselors. And then to make the best of my communication, I went entrepreneurial. And since September 2019, so I'm a novice entrepreneur in that sense, and trying to do everything out of it. So currently, I started an initiative called Career Mondays, which is to break the Monday blues. So a student when doesn't want to go to school on Monday, or an employee or a worker who doesn't want to go to office on Monday. So how do we create those Mondays beautiful for them? So that's the initiative. And then I'm a career advisor at South Asia IB Schools Association, CII, Global Goodwill Ambassador, some school networks like Podar and Singhania and Singapore Education Network, then few youth networks like Youth Startup Network, Pushti HR and Total Solutions Group, and then various universities. I work with over 500 universities, and then various governments as well, which I'm not naming them here. So going into our discussion, the first point which I would want to make is every communication, whether it is written or it is spoken, which we call verbal, or we call non-verbal, whatever the communication you do, if you want to just take away 4 words from me and don't remember my name, I would want you to remember, and of course, most of you would know the brand called Puma or Puma, as you may say. PUDA is the acronym which you can remember. Any communication you make, let it follow this DNA test. Is it personal? Is it unique? Is it detailed? Is it authentic? If you are answering all 4, yes, it is personal. Personal here, I do not mean to say that you have to communicate things personally. Personal means it belongs to you. You know, let's say Himanshu is communicating something, or Vanshika is communicating something, or Geeta is communicating something. Does that belong to me? Am I making a unique communication? Am I making a personal communication, means which I can own? Am I managing the details as it should be? And the final thing is it authentic? If it can be verified, let's say I say that I am the best career and college counselor. It may be unique. No, a lot of people say that. Is it detailed? Not really, because I haven't given any details. What make me the best career and college counselor? Is it authentic? Maybe, maybe not. Is it personal? So I keep exploring. Is my communication complete? But then these are the 4 words. So whatever keywords you use for communication, you would be able to pass the test if it is personal, unique, detailed, authentic, right? So if you want to end the talk here, this is enough for me, because I would want you to understand this and take this further. Make every communication PUDA, right? As we move ahead, I would like to tell stories here. Stories are the way to understand. When I say key to success, when I say membership for the lifetime, we talk about communication as an impact. We talk about transformations. So if communication helps you in transformation, like, I don't know, some of you may know it as ATKT or 25 backlogs. This is a story about, because I work with a lot of students, and of course you all belong to the student community. I took some cases here, how somebody was able to communicate better to get better results. So these are a few things, how somebody got 25 backlogs at one of the NITs, because a lot of NIT and IIT kids apply and go to work for different companies and apply for multiple universities. So this is a story about a student who got 25 backlogs. So that is too much, of course. And then a student from Dharavi slums, as we all would know, are one of the largest slums in India or Asia or competitive in the world. So from Dharavi slums, a student was able to communicate his ideas and work on his written and verbal communications to now working at Dropbox in San Francisco. It is all to do with communication. Then getting a full scholarship at an Ivy League MBA program, So this is a story about a girl from Mumbai who was able to communicate about her smoke-free Mumbai campaign, So how you are able to talk about it? You would be like, okay, for an MBA, I need to crack GMAT and I need to have a high score. I need to get experience from the top companies. But then on the other side, it's all about communicating. What do you want to do? Then there are people who were able to get, they were able to communicate with multiple people. It is not that you get a scholarship offer from one university, but actually multiple. Then somebody who scores low. So some of you may not be able to score very high. Not everybody is a top scorer. So somebody with 4.6 GPA on a scale of 10 was able to go to a top university and then working at Amazon now. Another type of communication is when you get rejected, and then how do you communicate? So this student came to me, and of course he said, I want to apply to a particular program which is available only at MIT and UC Berkeley. And then I already got a reject from MIT. Should I even think about it? I said, it is all about communicating. How have you changed in last 4 months? It's all about that. So that one paragraph, what do you write in that one paragraph? That will decide whether you should accept, whether MIT should accept you or not. And then of course, within 4 months, he was able to get in with a scholarship. Then we talk about low scores on the tests. How do you communicate that? So this girl who went to Harvard tried the GRE for 3 times and was ready to go for the 4th time because she thought to go to Harvard, you have to have a high GRE score. I said, stop. You are a researcher. Let's communicate through your research. And then she went on to go to Harvard school. Then we talk about somebody getting 50% marks in math, was able to get into rank 8 university to do mechanical engineering. So somebody who has a low score in math, getting into a good engineering program is almost gone for them. But then if I tell you this story, this is a story about tomato ketchup, which you would feel like even if you put thousands things to talk about to a college, you won't talk about tomato ketchup. But this was a story about it. And that student was able to get in to the university through that story. So it's all about storytelling. And then of course, a visa reject, just think about it. It is a communication which happens for 2 minutes or maybe 1 minute. In 1 minute, you get a reject. You try it again, you get rejected. You try 3rd time, you get rejected. 4th time, again, you get 1 minute or 1.5 minutes, and you are getting a chance because you already failed 3 times. What is the possibility that you will be able to clear that into success? Very rare. But then how do you do it? You don't do it by adding a different document. People say that, my visa got rejected because my documents were missing or my financial documents were incomplete. No, it is all about communication. So whether from that first story or to the final story here, it is all about communication. So I leave it to you all, and I will keep an eye on the chat button. I would like to tell maybe a couple of stories from here. So which 2 stories would you want to listen? I would be happy to tell you that. So you can go on chat and tell me which story should I cover. So I could have told the club to take a poll here because Zoom allows us to take a poll. But then just going on the readings, I would take up 2 stories here. So 25 backlog story and 3 times low GRE to Harvard. And then if we get time, we will go to the tomato ketchup story and the 3 times visa reject story. Okay, in this order, right? So all good? Yes. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, so let's start with the 25 backlogs at one of the NIT story and going to BMW in Germany. So a lot of you may not directly relate to it because this is a mechanical engineer, but then I don't know what you call. So backlogs, some institutes call it ATKT, means allowed to keep term. And I don't know what do we call, and I don't know whether students fail a semester or fail a subject at HR or not. I don't know. But in engineering colleges, it's a very common term. A lot of people do. So 25 backlog. So if any of you can tell me, what do you call it? And do people, when you fail a subject and you drag that to the next semester, what do you call it? ATKT. Yeah, that's what I heard. So allowed to keep term. Yeah. So it's so popular term, ATKT. Okay. So just I'll call it ATKT then, right? So that you are able to relate to it better. Okay. So I'll tell as it happens, you know. So now maybe, you know, I can even pause the share, and so that, you know, we just got ourselves focused on it. So this student comes to me and said, Himanshu sir, I want your frank opinion. Should I even think about applying? Because I want to go to a university with a dedicated automotive research center. You understand? So this was a mechanical engineering student at one of the top NITs. That means, because to get into NITs, so some of the NITs come into the IITs level as well. It's not that you talk about IITs and then the NITs come. Some of the NITs come up the ranks than some of the IITs as well. So that means the student did well in his entrance exam and his grade 12 and was able to get into the NIT. So this student came to me and said, Himanshu sir, I want your frank opinion. Should I even think about applying? Because I want to go to a university which has a dedicated automotive research center. Now you can imagine, and it's difficult to imagine 25 backlogs. So 25 backlogs means 25 ATKTs, means he failed 25 subjects and dragged them to the next semester, you know. So of course he finished his 4-year degree in 5 years. But then the discussion was, how do we talk about it? And I would never say no to any student, because you can see these kind of students are all success stories, and communication is the key. We may talk about it as applications, we may talk about it as essays, SOP, but it's all about communicating. Because as a counselor, I would like to see how can we communicate your idea to whoever we want to. So what we decided, so generally we decide that SOP, if some of you worked on or you know about, so statement of purpose is the essay we talk about. So that is about 1 page or 1.5 page. So here we decided, we made it a project that we will write a 2.5 page SOP. And on 1 page, we would be talking about what was he doing, what is his connection to the automotive research and all that. So as some of you may know, I don't know, you may have friends, or some of you may be mechanical engineering students or something. So what happens here is that a lot of mechanical engineering students spend a lot of time in the workshop. So workshop is the lab where they are spending time. So this student, when he was not studying or when he was failing the subjects, what was he doing? He was spending time in that workshop. So that 1 extra page which we wrote in the essay, and then of course in the interviews and the things, what did we talk about? We talked about the technical synopsis of that workshop work. What was he doing? Because there are students who are not able to score very well all the time, but that doesn't mean that they are average students. That doesn't mean that I'm not a good student. I just want to spend time in the lab. Some of the students want to spend time in the library. Some of the students like to spend time chit-chatting. Some of the students like playing sports, instruments, you know. So what we're coming to is that we decided that we will make a long SOP, and 1 page which is extra goes about that workshop talk, right? And of course, I will talk a little more about the SOP later in one of my slides. So I'm not talking about it right now. How do we work on the essay? So what we did was that after working on that SOP and other documents, and I'll talk about the letter of recommendation, other things as well. But then he got into 4 top universities in the US. So, and I can name them, you know, so one is, you know, Michigan Tech, then University of Washington, Seattle, and then Clemson University, and then one more, you know, he got in. So he got into 4 top universities for mechanical engineering, but that doesn't end the story, you know. So story goes to the last one here where we talked about, and some of you wanted me to talk about it as well. 3 times visa reject. Of course, his visa was not rejected 3 times, but it was rejected. So he went to the consulate, went for the visa interview, and he called me. Sir, my visa got rejected. I said, did you talk about the workshop? Did you talk about the car which you were working on? He said, no, sir. She did not ask. I said, that's not true. Tell me entire thing what happened. And again, it is all about that communication. So another lesson which I want to give you on communication comes here. So earlier we talked about the written communication. Now we are talking about the verbal communication, because visa is about that visa interview, which happens within a minute or two, right? So what happened there? So I asked him what went wrong, what all happened. So what happened here was that the visa officer asked that question which will hurt him the most. How many ATKTs? Do you have any ATKTs? Do you have any backlogs? And of course the answer was, I have. And he said, yes, 15. As if 15 ATKTs were better than 25, right? So, and what happens here now a lesson on communication. What happens here? As soon as you go to the visa office, your heart is right here, you know, your internal organs are all out, and you are like, what will happen? And you know, my life is in this visa officer's hands, right? And when you lie to that person, your head is hot, your feet are cold. You don't know what's happening. So once you tell a lie that I have 15 backlogs and not 25. So it is not that his visa got rejected because of 15 backlogs or 25 backlogs. No, his visa got rejected because his communication went haywire. Why? Because I told a lie. So the easiest communication is when you're telling the truth. Your easiest communication is when you're being honest. Like, let's say all these stories were fake. I made them up. I wouldn't be so confident in telling these stories. But if you ask me any of these stories, I will be happy to share, because these are stories where I am a member to it. You know, I am a member of their success club. You know, I played a role in that through communication. So what happens here? That you know, of course, so when he told a lie, so that's what happened. And I said, that's not the complete answer. The complete answer here is, I got 25 backlogs because I was not attending the classes. I was failing the exams because I was spending time in the workshop. I was trying to make a car. And then as soon as I realized that if I don't finish my degree, because I went into the 5th year of my engineering program. So BTech is a 4-year degree, or BE or BTech is a 4-year degree. It doesn't go to the 5th year unless it's architecture or something. So this is the complete answer. And then he went again, and second time he got the visa. Now what happens? Of course, so he went to one of the universities in the US, and then he went on to do work at BMW in Germany. And for a mechanical engineer, it's a dream to work at BMW in Germany, not in here or any of the offices here. So that was a dream. And now he's working for another car company, heading a department in the US. And sometime later, there was another part of communication. You know, his to-be wife came to me and told me that, you know, I am an I'm an engineer. I want to do journalism, right? So that is another story attached to it. And of course, they are happily married and doing very well in their own fields, right? So this is the story about how you communicated in the written form to convince someone that actually I'm not a loser student who got 25 backlogs. I'm a bright student. I am a mechanical engineer in making, where I can work for BMW, where I can lead a company in the US, right? On the other side, you are able to communicate to the visa officer again that, okay, I'm coming here again. Again, technically, you don't get the same visa officer the second time, you know. So because I worked at the US consulate as well, and several visa officers are my friends, so I experienced it from the other side as well. So what happens here is that you communicate to rectify your verbal communication as well, right? Now I go to this second option of story, which is 3 times low GRE to Harvard. And of course, most of you are attracted to the word called Harvard. Let me just have a look at the chat. How is it going? Okay. Okay, fine. That is something to do with the logistics. Fine. So coming back to the second story. So this story here, the 3 times low GRE to Harvard, right? Now, what happens with this? And I will tell the story as it goes. So this girl was preparing to go to Harvard or other universities. And of course, to go to top universities, you come to know, and a lot of you may be preparing for GRE or GMAT or IELTS or TOEFL or those kind of tests. And a lot of times parents and students tell me, should I wait to complete my GRE to work on my applications? Like, because I am a counselor, I work with them on their essays, applications, shortlisting universities, letters of recommendation, activities, resume, CV, online presence, and all that. So sometimes they ask me, should I wait? Should I wait to complete my GRE or SAT or any of those tests? I tell them, no, you need to work on your strategy from now. So this was a girl who tried to take GRE. So GRE is out of 340 these days. When I took it was 800. So out of 340, so this girl got 280, which is a low score. She tried it again. She got 308, which is again below average for Indian students. Then again she tried, it fell, to 305 or 3 or something. So the second attempt was the highest, which is at 308, which is not an above average score for Indian students. So, and of course, nothing of that sort goes to Harvard. But then I said, just stop. You are a researcher. We need to showcase your research potential. You've already wasted or invested a lot of time in preparing for GRE. Let's focus on your research idea. And she was a student of biotechnology at one of the BITS Pilani campuses. So from there, she was trying to apply to immunology programs. So what happened there that I said, let's work on the research front. And then we worked. We worked on that research angle, and we were able to convince the universities like Harvard or even others to get through. On the other side, one point which I would want to talk about it is that her dad used to come for those meetings. And her dad would only say one word, and Sir Harvard. And I would say, yes, we'll apply. And then when she got selected to Harvard, I told the dad, you kept us motivated, that and Sir Harvard. So that's what he said, and Sir Harvard, and Sir Harvard. That's it. And then this girl got scholarships and admits to multiple universities. So it's all about that focus on research. Focus on what are you doing. There is always something in your life. It's not about matching your things to something. And that's why I said PUDA, any communication which you create, let it be personal, unique, detailed, authentic. Because it's your story. Having marks is never your story. Let's say you got 90% marks in something. Are those really your marks? No. This year in the CBSE grade 12, there are 1.6 lakh students who scored 90% and above. Now tell me, how personal is it to get 90% marks? It's not a very personal thing. So many people, so 1.6 lakh students have 90% marks in just CBSE board. Then you talk about ICSE, then you talk about multiple state boards, Maharashtra to so many state boards, Rajasthan to Karnataka to MP to Andhra to Tamil Nadu to Bengal, whatever. So just see how many people are getting 90% marks. I went to an ICSE school. So there we used to get the merit at 90% marks, but it is a very, very large school. So this year that merit was cut off. So the students who were called on stage were only till 97% marks, because the stage could accommodate only that many, right? So marks are not that personal, but what went wrong or what went good? If you scored full marks, I need a story behind it. If you scored low, I need a story behind it. So communication is not about those quantitative things all the time, right? It's all about those qualitative things, the stories behind. So communication is a great way, or in fact the only way to get you through, because without communication, how will you get in? How will you get out, right? So these are the two stories which I shared. And if if in the interest of time, we can come back to the story, I will tell you the tomato ketchup story as well. Now, because I'm talking about LinkedIn and other stories as well, so now I want to touch on the social media platforms. So most of you may be on Instagram or Snapchat, or I don't know whether there is a new tool coming up as well. And whether, I don't know whether you guys enjoy TikTok or not. Facebook is a little old. So maybe your parents are on Facebook, maybe you are not. I don't know whether some of you are on Facebook or not, but LinkedIn is something which is associated professionally. So whether we, one, we have to take a call. Do we want to go on social media or not? Do we want to go online or not? So first thing is, do I create my online presence? I have to take a call on it. Second, do I go on social media? Because going online does not mean going on social media all the time. Going on social media, I need to see, should I go on Facebook? Should I go on Insta? Should I go on Snapchat? Should I go on Twitter? Should I go on Pinterest? Should I go on Facebook? Should I go on LinkedIn? There's so many platforms. So first, define your priorities. What do you want to do? And will you be able to manage multiple? Like on Instagram, I have about 400 followers or something, maybe, I don't know. I haven't posted anything yet. I just created an account, but I'm not able to post anything there. On Facebook, I'm connected with almost, I think, about 2000 or 2500 people. On LinkedIn, I'm connected to even more. I'm active most on Facebook. I don't know why, but whatever it is, because, your college time people are on Facebook, your age grew with Facebook, because when I was going to college, at that time, we had something called Orkut, and then we moved to Facebook. So when I was moving to US, at that time, people were coming on Facebook. So Indians were not on Facebook, but Americans were on Facebook, because I think initially you needed your college ID to get on Facebook, right? So as soon as I got my North Carolina State University ID, I registered it and went on Facebook, right? So that's how I just stay there. At the personal level and professional level, I connect on Facebook, and then wherever my audiences are. So best platforms for you. You do not have to choose the best platform. You do not have to see, like in India, still, I think Facebook is #1 platform. WhatsApp, whether we call it a platform or not, I don't know. Snapchat, whether we call it a platform or not, I don't know. I haven't used it. But then Facebook, LinkedIn, our websites, our apps which we use. We need to see which is the best platform for me. Let's say I want to share ideas with hashtags and want to follow, a theme. I did 2 themes on Twitter. At one time, I was so excited about artificial intelligence and machine learning. So I used to tweet about that. At one side, I was very interested in philosophy. So I used to tweet about philosophy on Twitter. And then sometimes I talk about higher education, which is there, but I'm not so active on Twitter. But LinkedIn, I post everything, a lot of things. Facebook, I post everything, a lot of things. And some personal, some professional. But you have to see which platforms do you choose. And once you choose it, then be active on it. Don't be like my Insta where I haven't posted anything yet. I keep thinking, what should I post? I thought maybe on Insta I'll share my travel photographs, which we do. But then that I already do on Facebook. So I don't know how to use it. And then of course, you all are on there. So to communicate with you all, maybe I should be on Insta, right? So we have to see best platforms for you. And we can do that analysis. I can discuss with you, and you can discuss with others as well, how you want to use that platform. Then same way we talk about, which are the best documents for you. Like I talked about in the previous slide, is your CV your best document? Will the essay be your best document? Will your, what you call cover letter, which you write, I'm very fond of cover letters. My cover letters were always so long, each and every job which I applied to, because I was so much about writing SOPs. So my cover letters were all like essays, 1.5 page, which is not how it is supposed to be. The cover letter is generally about 1 line, 2 lines, 4 lines, 1 paragraph, and then a list of documents which you are attaching, right? But then I was all about cover letters. So whether cover letter is your main document, whether a resume is your main document, or you are a school topper, your mark sheet is the main document for you, right? We don't know. Or your online presence. You want to share all your social media logins. Logins means the IDs, right? Where is your audience? You need to understand that. So my marketing guru, if I say, when I was at the US Department of State's Education USA program, gave me this lesson. Be where your audiences are. That's how you have to find. If your audience is on Facebook, you have to go. Like I always feel the itch to connect with students. I have to go on Insta. I think I created that account in 2015 or even earlier than that. It's been 5 years. My God, how can I get an excuse that in 5 years I did not get time to post anything on Insta? But I think I was too strategic on that. I want to have a strategy. I want to understand what do I post, because even Twitter I can't handle much. I'm away from Twitter, I'm away from something, but something which I'm active is Facebook. And that's where I get the audience from, or LinkedIn, that's where I get the audience from. So either you create an audience or you find an audience, right? And then evaluate your chances. Will you be able to, let's say you go say that, a lot of my content is available on Twitter. Find your chances. Will you be able to create a fan following on Twitter? If you are able to do that, maybe not, maybe yes, or maybe you can have a following because of your Insta post. So see where your chances are. Okay. So how do you make the personal choice? One, of course, sometimes we are looking at the number of users. That if I want to communicate, like we are looking for a job, right? Of course, we see that if we are looking at a job, we go on LinkedIn. But maybe yes, maybe not. You may impress people through Twitter because you can send direct messages to some people. And if that person really sees you, because when I was communicating for philosophy and artificial intelligence, I used Twitter. For education, I used LinkedIn. For sponsorships, I used LinkedIn. So I don't know why I spend most time on Facebook. I don't know, right? So number of users may be one reason, but what's behind those number of users, right? And then it doesn't mean like these are just random numbers. 8%, 28%, 78% of what? That doesn't mean anything to you. People will say 78% of the doctors are available on LinkedIn. 28% of the job offers are given by Facebook. 8% of the people who are able to create a fan following, it is all done on Twitter. No way. We don't know all that. That doesn't mean anything. Let it be very personal. You will decide. These statistics will not help you at all. And Don't choose shortcuts. There is significant time which is invested on social media and documentation. Do not use the same thing everywhere. Have strategies. Same thing on the documents and applying for jobs or applying for universities. Why your stories will be bought by someone? Because it is very personal, it is unique, it is detailed, it is authentic. If you're applying for 10 jobs, do not send the same CV, do not send the same cover letter. Even one word change on your resume can make a big difference. One word add can make a big difference. One word removal can make a big difference. I could have given a lot of examples, but I gave the examples through the stories, so it is make or break decision at your age, because some of you are looking at your first job, some of you are looking at your first degree, some of you are looking at your first professional degree, right? And that will stay with you for life. Or I don't want to talk about afterlife, but it stays even after, because the online presence. Where did Jawaharlal Nehru go to college? Where did Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar go to college? Columbia University. So Columbia University was for Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, and Nehru, of course, went to London, Oxford or Cambridge. I don't know, one of those, right? So whatever it is, people remember, that's what you do. Now going to the next things, how do we go about? So this doesn't fit in here, but I think you can see the message. So the CV cannot be very long for you. I have the liberty to have a long CV because I have that many years of experience. For you, it shouldn't be. Like a lot of times when we are applying for a job, my education comes on the second page. Don't do it ever. Most of you will not have that kind of experience that your education goes at the lower end of the first page or on the second page. For most of you, the CV should be of just one page. Unless you have experience of more than 4 or 5 years, I wouldn't recommend going to the second page. So this is a, a joking around on the CV that when did you say you left your school? Another cartoon which talks about, where did that go? Yeah, this one. Just read it and give a laugh. So what I mean to say here is that, of course, I tell you to create stories, but I don't mean literally creating the stories, So do not just create a fake resume. Adding activities or adding a story doesn't mean much. It will get caught sometime or the other. There was a student who said once that I want to talk about, some work with an NGO, which she didn't really do. And then of course, she was caught at one end, so don't get into all that. Okay. So now basics of the SOP, statement of purpose. How do you go about? Because of course it is very personal and I will talk, I gave you the stories, but then this is the general format which you can follow, 500 to 1000 words. Start with not a quote by Steve Jobs or Warren Buffett or Nelson Mandela. Do not start with that. But my recommendation is start with you. Again, remember, personal, unique, detailed, authentic. Each and every paragraph, each and every line should clear your DNA test. It should be about you. If you can fit that line to your friend, it's not PUDA enough, right? So introduction should be about you. Then you talk about your background, your history to present, like your past, present. And then you show your technical evolution. Then you show your professional evolution. Then you come to the goals. What are your goals? So goals can be divided into short-term goals and long-term goals, right? STGs and LTGs, I mean short-term goals and long-term goals. And then you talk about why you're applying for this program. So why this university will help you achieve the short-term goals and long-term goals. So this is a basic framework. I would advise you against reading sample SOPs. Do not go online to read sample SOPs. Do not take your seniors SOPs. Do not approach a consultant or agent to give you a sample SOP. Do not do that. I would want you to work on your SOP or your essay from scratch. It may be frustrating, but somebody like me is happy to read your SOP 10 times, 20 times, 30 times. Don't make your job easy. Don't make a counselor's job easy. Work on it. It will take time, but once it develops, you will see the transformations, because even one transformation which I talked about is like a miracle, right? You will look at it and you will be like, oh my God, how is this even possible with 25 backlogs, which is like end of the life, right? So it all happens because of your personal work. Okay. So yeah, I think that brings me to the end. Of course, the stories, and either I can take the chats, or I can tell you the, any other story which you want to talk about. I can open it to questions, and if you want to maybe okay, I'm getting some questions on the CV and SOP. Let me take those. And then if the organizing team wants me to take up any question, you can prompt me on that. So I'm just going how it goes. Does a research paper or a review paper make a difference to your CV? I mean, does it enhance your CV? Aditya Acharya questions this. Research papers make a difference, but the most difference can be made through your research potential. Research potential. How do you showcase it? Just putting the research paper on your CV doesn't help you. I would say, let's say you did research on online marketing tools. Okay. Now, did you use them? Which tools did you research on? Did you communicate with one of the professors on that? What work reached its impact? So I'm saying the pre and post of that project is very important as well. So I hope I answered the question that, research paper helps definitely, because when you're going for a job or you are going for a college, research paper will definitely help. But just putting the research paper as one line on the CV, not really, not much. Research potential is something which counts. I think you can, see my mobile number, and do not call me directly, but you feel free to WhatsApp, because mostly I'm on calls like these, and and Vanshika may tell you, how difficult it was to reach me, but that doesn't mean I'm not approachable. I'm happy to discuss with each of you, and so you can reach out to me on WhatsApp or email, or with a proper communication, you can communicate with me on LinkedIn or Facebook as well. But don't just send random connections. If you don't have a message attached to it, I will not really like it to be accepted. So one more thing which I would say, when you are sending a request on LinkedIn and Facebook or anywhere, put a message, write an email. So I hope you are able to see the screen. So some of you are asking for my email ID or phone number. Is it not clear on the screen? On the screen you see it's right at the bottom below the stories, and that's why, because at this time you will keep asking. So I didn't want to even answer that. I said, the name is there, the phone number is there, and the email ID is there. Yeah. Okay, other questions, because I think we are at 6:14 and we would want to end maybe in 10 minutes or something. So let's go. A few more questions. So yeah, feel free to approach me, and then which books you suggest for students as you like it for formal and informal life. See, what I would suggest that you should read both fiction and non-fiction. So if you are a reader of fiction books, read non-fiction as well. If you read non-fiction, try to read fiction as well. If you read Indian books, try to read American or European books. If you read American or British books, try to read Indian as well. So I would say reading is all about diversity. And you can do two things on reading. One could be the quantitative stuff, second could be the qualitative stuff. So when you are reading a book, try to work on your vocabulary. Like I'll just give you one example. Words for walk and talk. There are several words for walk. When you are walking slowly, there is a word for that. When you are walking fast, there is a word for that. When you are walking when you are drunk, there is a word for that. When you are walking when you are tired, there is a word for that. When you are walking, in the rain, there is a word for that. Same thing on talking. When you're talking fast, there is a word for that. When you're talking when you're sad, there is a word for that. When you're talking in a hurry, or when you're talking very slow, or you're talking very low, there is a word for that, right? So I would say all this you learn from the books. Then you try to get the message out of it. There are 3 stages of reading book, I would say, or the qualitative level. 1, what is the author trying to say? Simple. Or even before that, what is the author saying? Second line, what is the author trying to say? Third, what is the author trying to tell Abhishek here or Vanshika here? You know, what is the author trying to tell that 13-year-old or 14-year-old or 15-year-old? Because that book is not about the author. You want to personalize that book. So this is how I would suggest on reading books. I'm not naming one, but this is how it is. You have to be diverse, you know. Although I can boast about my math score on GRE, but I didn't get a perfect score, and everybody knew that my English was much, much better than maths. But still I scored full on maths, and I did not score full on English. Why? Because I did not read fiction a lot. I may have read more than 10,000 books on non-fiction, but I did not read even 10 books on fiction. If I would have read that, I may have, you know, scored much better on English as well, right? Few more questions. Can we mention our long-term goals in SOP? Yes, you should. Short-term goals and long-term goals. And what is a short-term goal? Short-term goal is not to go to college. Short-term goal is right after college or right after the next thing. So whatever you are trying for, right after that. So short-term goal means whoever you are talking to, after that, what is your goal? Like if you are applying to a college, after that college, what is your goal? Long-term goal is 10 years, 15 years down the line. So let's say you get an award, right? What will that be for? That I want to get a Nobel Prize. Okay, that Nobel Prize would be the Peace Prize, or that Nobel Prize would be the Chemistry Prize. That's my goal, right? Long-term goal. Few more questions. Okay, let me take up, you know, sorry for not being able to take all the questions. Somebody is requesting for the catch-up story. Why so and do university? Okay, how do we answer the question? Okay, why this university? What would you say on the importance of learning how to communicate in languages other than English? Okay. Yeah, communicating other than English, I would say, take your language to a certain level. Do not just start touching different languages and just happy by saying bonjour in French. You just try to attract someone, bonjour. And after that, that person starts speaking in French and you have no idea what he's talking about, right? You talk to a Gujarati and say, Kem cho? And they would be like, you know, whatever, and you would be like, eklu chawale che, you know. So you need to go beyond, you know. So you need to go beyond. Do not just learn the introduction or something like that. So that's what I would recommend. Each and every language which you learn, whether it is, you know, Marathi, Hindi, Gujarati, or Spanish, French, Tamil, or any of the Portuguese, any of the languages, right? Now, I try to speak with people, I become nervous. Okay. So here, you know, to put that nervousness out of it, I would tell you, you know, I can tell my stories and, you know, I used to stammer, you know, I used to be hesitant. I was an introvert. What happens here? We talk about public speaking. I went blank on stage. You know, I went for a speech competition, extempore. And I was like blank, right? And then I've talked to thousands and thousands of people. I've been on TV. I've been, talking in New York to wherever, But then I've seen those situations as well where I'm nervous and, think. One thing to not be nervous is, one, be confident about your content. Talking about this. I'm talking about this. I'm super, super confident. I can say, okay, career and college counseling, there is an Olympic gold medal for it. I can run for it. I'm so confident about this kind of advising on the communication and these stories which I shared. Like I said, that honesty of these stories, each and every story you talk about, I don't fumble on that because I was part of these stories. I give all the credit to these students, but then I was part of it. So that honesty and that confidence in your content, that helps you break that nervous thing. And the other thing is, don't care about everyone. There would always be some people who would want to pull you down. There would always be some people who would, I don't believe in it, but we talk in that sense, may have an evil eye on you. We say nazar lag jayegi or something like that, whatever. It will always happen. You try to create some things. If you know somebody in the audience, look at that person. Look at that person and speak. And your 2-3 people in the audience, which you know, which you like, which they love you. Look at them only. Don't look at other people who may tease you, right? Something like that. Or sometimes people say, just look at the wall. But you don't graduate from that then. You have to look into the eyes. You have to look into the people. So I would say internally, it has to come from the heart. It has to come from the mind, like the confidence on that. See, like the confidence of a kid, a philosopher, Krishnamurti, Jiddu Krishnamurti talks about something called innocent self-confidence. That is of the kid. So the kid is so confident, talking to the mother, talking to a stranger, but that kid is told, publicly you have to behave. That kid of 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old is told. So when you were 7-year, 8-year, your mom or your dad would tell you, ठीक से रहना, मेहमान आ रहे हैं. Behave in front of the guests. Party में जा रहे हैं, ठीक से रहना. We are told to do that. So public is something which we have to behave for. And when you are on stage, you are public speaking. You are speaking in public. Now, when you have to behave, then maximum you can say is good morning, thank you, sorry. How will you be able to dictate that audience? It's very difficult, right? Because we are told to just shut up, right? We are told the most disciplined person is, like I was, who would sit silently in the class and will talk only to the teacher, right? No talking. It doesn't happen nowadays much, but during our times, it was like finger on your lip. Now, when we are taught to behave in public, and in the classroom, we are taught to put our finger on your lip, how do we learn public speaking, right? So I hope these thoughts will help others as well. So again, when we look at the time, I would randomly take few more questions. Or I leave it to the organizers to maybe choose questions. And I hope if you have taken my contact details, or you can always approach the, the office bearers of the club for my any contact. And my request is, do not call me directly, but messages I will answer, of course. And if the messages are, much clear, it will help me answer that. Don't just send a hi, what will I answer on that? So over to the organizing committee. If you want me to answer 1 or 2 questions, I will answer. Otherwise, you can take the proceedings down.
Yes, thank you. I think everyone in the comments agrees with me when I say that it was a very enriching session. I think there are a few questions that have come in. So, sir, like you said, we can have the last 2 questions and then we can, move on to the vote of thanks. So, there's a question which has come in about how do you use your social media to influence your university applications or job applications?
Okay. Yeah, so as all of us are on social media and we go to our
social media accounts much more than our inboxes or something like that. One, choose the social media where you want to be. Second, make sure that you will be able to attend that social media. Like, I have an example where I do not give a good example. I do not give a good example because I am on Insta, but I haven't posted anything. Sometimes people may tag me there, but then sometimes people would, talk about, so you have to understand which social media you want to use. And a lot of universities actually ask for your social media accounts. They will say, if you have a social media account, share the profile. So you will share your Facebook account, you will share your Insta account, you will share your LinkedIn account. But what I would say, choose those accounts. Even if you are not applying to college or jobs, just for you, you have to see what do you want to wear. You have to see what do you want to own. You have to see what do you want to have, right? If you decide that I don't want to play a musical instrument, don't play. If you know that I don't want to play a sport, don't play. So if you want to be on Twitter, and I hope you understand, Twitter is about ideas, themes. So if you want to follow one idea, like I followed philosophy and artificial intelligence at one time. So I got some followers who have left me because I stopped tweeting on artificial intelligence. So I would say not tweeting about artificial intelligence because I was done with it. Almost 200 followers left me. Then I was tweeting about philosophy, and then again 200 followers left me. So now I think there are about 250 or something like followers there. But on LinkedIn, I'm connected to thousands. On Facebook, I'm connected to thousands, and I connect on a daily basis. So for me, if I have to share my social media IDs, maybe 2 years ago, I would have shared Twitter. But right now, I will share LinkedIn and Facebook. A lot of times people do not want to share Facebook because Facebook is too personal. And of course, a lot of you, for you, the number one profile is Instagram. Same way happens for the blogs as well. If your blog is not up to date, if you go on a blog, make sure that you post something every 10-15 days. If you say I have a blog, the last post was 2 years ago, then better remove that blog. Okay. So this is how you do, and people go on your social media. Whether they say or not, universities go on your social media, companies go on your social media, anywhere, wherever you are communicating, even if they search your name on Google, they will reach, and they will do that, right? So another question which I should take?
Yes, I think we can have our last question for this session. So the people who had put in their questions earlier and it's gone down in the chat box, if you all could put it again and then we could have it answered.
Yeah, if somebody really wants an answer, and really wants to get success tomorrow or day after, I would be happy to take it up.
So please put in your questions in the chat box and one question that will be answered.
One is on.
Ashir Pansari has asked, how do we answer why this university?
Okay. So this can be the longest answer actually, because on a daily basis, I work on this, but still, I would say, and one thing which I wanted to talk about and which I did not, I would give you an exercise. Write 25 things, and that will help answer that goal question as well. How do we get focused on goal? Because yesterday when I was talking to a residential school, they asked me, how can we focus ourselves on goals? So I answered that. So write 25 things which you want to achieve in your life. 25. Even if you take 25 days to write that. Write 25 things in your life which you want to achieve. Now, strike off 20 of them. 5 will remain. Those 5 will help you achieve your goals. So you are striking off those 20 and telling your heart and mind that I will not be looking at you 20 unless I achieve these 5. Everybody got it? With that, you will be able to talk about it. So now same things I can apply to this question, why this university? Right? So write 25 things about you. Write 25 things about that particular university. Right? And now try to match at least 5 of them. So you have 25 qualities or 25 things in you, and the university has 25 things there. And again, you are at an appropriate age and you are starting with that age where I can use the word. It has to be a love match. When you love someone, you don't have the reasons. But if that person asks you, but why did you fall in love with me? Why did you talk? So you try to work on, you have so many things. But ultimately with that university, you have to fall in love and let that university fall in love with you. So write those 25 things about you. Write those 25 things about that college. Do not start with the rankings, because rankings may not help you all the time. So why this university means? The example is that I wanted to go to a college where everybody knows me. That's why I'm applying to your college, which has 2,500 students, because I wanted to go to this. So this is at the, how large or small the college is. I wanted to study in South Bombay. That's why I am applying to HR college. I wanted to go to a college which has the best debate club, because all my life, this is what I have done. I don't, I want to go to a college. Vanshika was expecting to say HR college, right? So I want to go to a college which has the best debate club. On the other side, I want to go to a college which has the largest football stadium. So if I apply to Ohio State University, I could talk about, I am attracted because you have one of the largest football stadiums. I want to come to your college which has a private beach. Northwestern University boasts of that we have a private beach. Like that student who talked about, I want to come to you because you have a dedicated automotive research center, right? He doesn't say, I want to come to you because I have 25 backlogs, right? He said, I want to come to you because you have a dedicated automotive research center. And all my engineering program, I have spent time in the workshop. I haven't been to the classes. I have been studying much, right? So these are the reasons which we find. So it could be a student club. It could be a research center. It could be a professor that I really want to be at your university because this and this professor is there. It could be the proximity because I want to be in South Bombay, or I want to be in New York, or I want to be close to the Wall Street. Why New York University has been one of the most popular universities? Because it's right beside the Wall Street, right? So these are the reasons. Or you want to study wildlife and you want to be in, let's say, Western Virginia, right? Something like that. So these are a few ways to answer why this university. But it is a very, 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 very important way, an important need to answer that. And again, follow the 4 things: personal, unique, detailed, authentic. The PUDA principle. Over to you.
Yeah, so thank you very much for all that you've told us today. I'll be giving the vote of thanks. Thank you for taking time out of your, what I only imagine must be an incredibly busy schedule, for being with us here today. And I think all of us here have learned a lot from you today, from selecting colleges to how to apply to SOP writing guidelines. I think you've dispelled a lot of myths today that only students who get top marks and 95% plus can get into all these Harvard, Oxford, etc. And I'm sure that all the students who have a lot of doubts, we are seeing a lot of them in the chat box right now, they will go to you and you'll guide them further on also. So thank you very much, sir. I think all of us have gained a lot out of today, and we'd love to have you back if you want to come back to do another session regarding the stories which you couldn't cover today, even the tomato ketchup story, which I think is very popular now among everyone. I'd also like to thank our principal in charge, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani ma'am, principal of HR College, and of course our amazing professor in charge, Ms. Geeta Sahu, for making this possible, and the entire team of PSDS. This is our first webinar for the year. And I think because of the COVID situation and because of we're all trying to learn how to use Zoom and all, I think this was a great success. So a very big thank you to the entire team also. And thank you very much, sir.
So thanks a lot, all of you, and very well organized, and all the best to you all, and keep doing well. And of course, I would love to keep coming back again and again, each and every student out here. If I can play a little role in any of your successes, or to help you out with my experiences, because experience is something which I can share, nothing else, So I would be happy to, and feel free to reach out anytime for anything. All the best. Do well. Keep doing well.
Thank you, sir. And I think Manushreshth has very well covered it all. And I once again take this opportunity to tell you even the feedback that we're getting on our personal chats right now. They're all being really positive and in favor of how well you conducted this session. So thank you.
Thanks a lot. All the best, Vanshika. Always for you all. Feel free to reach out for anything at your own level, for the club, and for anything. Just see me as your friend for life, and I'll be happy to contribute to your successes. All the best.